Hi, we're Josh
and Ariel Wamsley,
owners of Green Valley Tree LLC, based in North Windham.
We're proud to sponsor Connecticut East This Week and to serve the communities of Windham and New London counties with our tree removal and plant healthcare services.
Visit our website at greenvalleytreeworks.com for a full list of our services or give us a call on 860-234-4041. We look forward to hearing from you.
There's over 1 million of them in the US protecting you and me. We're talking about the nation's firefighters, and we sit down with Jewett City Fire Department to find out more about why these men volunteer their time to look out for the community. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. They are part of the nation's first responders, the men and women of the United States Fire Department. But did you know that of the 1 million plus firefighters in this country, 65% of them are volunteers and 50% of them are aged between 30 and 50 years of age. And they give up their time night and day, ready for that next emergency call, be it a house fire or a motor vehicle accident on the interstate. Without them, there would be no fire department in many areas, and in the last several years, there has been a significant drop in people volunteering to become firefighters. I sat down with the Jewett City Fire Department to find out what makes them want to volunteer and what it takes to be one of the nation's firefighters. It's a great conversation and started off with a roll call.
Hi, my name is Chief Louis D'Amico. I'm the Chief of the Jewett City Fire Department.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Senior. I'm the President of the Fire Department.
Ken Comfort, Deputy Chief.
Scott Walker, First Lieutenant.
Ben Skapansky, I'm the Treasurer, and I'm in the Fire Police in Jewett City Fire Department.
So welcome all of you, and thank you for welcoming me to the Jewett City Fire Department. Chief, we're going to kick off with you. I mean, we're at a fire department. You can hear it's all a little bit echoey and whatnot here, so we just want to give the listeners a bit of an idea, because we think we know what fire departments are about, but everyone's a little bit different, aren't they, sort of thing. So just give us a little, that 60-second elevator pitch about Jewett City Fire Department.
So Jewett City Fire Department is a volunteer fire department in the borough of Jewett City. We cover about 5 square miles. We do EMS and fire plus car accidents and service calls. The department was established in 1895, and this is our second house. We used to be farther down the road on East Main Street. And this was built in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty much we're here for the public. 911 gets called, we go and respond.
Jeremy, let's get you in on this. Explain your role here, if you would.
So my role as the President would be to run the organizational meetings, the activity side of the fire department with the public, and all the numerous activities that we do.
We're going to get back to you in a bit because I know that you do a hell of a lot of activities, and obviously we'll get you to explain some of them to us. We want to speak to Deputy Chief as well. Tell us a little bit about your role as well, if you would.
I'm the Deputy Chief, and I'm currently second in charge I'm in charge when Lou's not around.
Just give us a sense, when people talk about chiefs and deputy chiefs, what do? You obviously still go out on when there's a call, etc. Don't you? Just explain that to listeners as well, because I think sometimes people get the impression that because you're a chief, you're a deputy, you don't actually do anything.
Basically, what I do is, as a Deputy Chief, I'm the second in charge. The chief runs the overall scene, and I run the operation part. So if there's a fire going on, I tell the guys, take a hose line, go put the fire out. You two go climb a ladder, cut a hole in the roof. Basically run the operation side. Or if we don't have enough people, I operate the apparatus.
Scott Walker, First Lieutenant. I fill in when Deputy Chief or the Chief's not here. Make sure the truck gets out, make sure the guys get out, go to a job site. I'm in charge. I appoint other people to take charge of the radios, tell the guys what to do, and keep them safe.
And Ben, tell us what you do, because you're treasurer as well.
I'm the treasurer of the department here. I report to Jeremy, the president. I'm also in the fire police, and our function is to go out there and set up a safety zone for the firemen, the approaching apparatus, ambulance, what have you. We control the traffic, we control the crowds, and we intermingle with the police to set up a safety zone, and that's pretty much what we do.
A lot of different roles, which again is nice for people to try and understand, because I think again people, when they think about fire departments, they think there's just the one role, and you point the hose and you put out the fire, and obviously there's a lot more to it. Chief, just getting back to you, I mean, this is a volunteer fire department. Why do you do it? We're glad you do, of course, but why'd you do it?
The people here are special because you give up a lot of time. And when I first joined I personally had no interest in the fire department. Kind of 9/11 came along. After that, Ben kind of talked me into fire police, and then I worked my way up to EMS, and then ended up as a firefighter and ended up as chief. So it was kind of, I've always given back to the community with other roles I've done with Little League and Boy Scouts and other stuff I've done, but the fire department definitely is my passion, and also it does take up a lot of time, and that's why the people here are special, because you have to give up a lot of time. We always have a thing, family, work, and fire department, but sometimes the roles get switched up sometimes because we're always here. And there's always, when you have 650 calls plus per year and you're on a call maybe 15, 20 minutes, sometimes start to finish, or if it's a fire, you could be up there 5, 6, 7 hours, who knows? It could be a while.
All of you have got jobs outside of this, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Deputy Chief, just, you don't have to give us your entire life's history, but, just give us a sense, because, again, people, don't realise how much of the fire service in this country is volunteer. So, one, why do you do it, and what are you doing when you're not doing this?
I do it, to be honest with you. I come from, my family's from Taffel, and there was 3 generations ahead of me in the fire department in Taffel. I moved to Jewett City, and it seemed like the thing to do. But back when I joined, it was father, son, generation after generation. When I came here, we had 3 or 4 families that had multiple generations in the firehouse, which was pretty amazing now. Barely see that. I mean, I've been here 28 years, almost 29 years. On the outside, I work for Tower Groton full-time, and during the winter, I deliver oil on weekends. So I do quite a bit, but as family job fire department, that's how I was taught, and that's what I preach.
Jeremy, let me turn to you. We're going to get onto the whole event thing, which I know is one of the many things that you do, but getting volunteers in, it's become a tough thing for fire departments across the nation, not just here in Connecticut. How do you try and motivate people, or how do you try to get people passionate about wanting to look after their community and come and work, as a volunteer in the fire service?
So we've tried numerous avenues trying to put the information out to the public that, one, the fire department is volunteer. A lot of residents interpret the fire service to be a paid department because they just don't have that grasp that they're serviced by volunteers compared to professional firefighters. We send out flyers, mailers, brochures, and some of the event information that we do. We just try to get a word out that via the radio sometimes, and then word of mouth is a big thing. Just trying to get the word out that we're volunteer and looking for new people.
Because people forget as well, it's a 24/7 service and it's volunteers. It's not like you come in when you feel like it, and when that call goes out, you're there.
Correct.
Scott, tell us a little bit about your history as well. What got you interested in being a volunteer firefighter, and what is it that you do when you're not here?
I'm a full-time equipment mechanic for a rental company in Norwich, work 40-plus hours a week, and then the rest of my life is spent here, and I got interested in it because I wanted to help people.
That's a lot of work. A 40-hour work week, and then to come and do this as well. Because, it's quite, at the moment, at any point,
Correct.
That could go off, and this will be the end of the conversation sort of thing, because you'll have to go.
Right.
So, although there's a lot of waiting around, it could also end up being a very busy night as well.
Yes, I've driven across the bridge many times, untying my shoes, come into a fire call, so I can get my boots off to get on the truck and go, and you never know when you're getting home.
Let's turn to Ben. What got you into it, Ben?
Believe it or not, I live across the street from the firehouse.
That's a good reason.
And you see the equipment going out on calls, various calls, accidents, fires, medical calls. You kind of get caught up in that frenzy of, hey, you want to do your part and help out and get involved. I retired many years ago, got myself a part-time job at the Jewett City greenhouse. I respond to the calls quite often. I just want to help out and do my part. I enjoy it.
I see you're wearing a Marines T-shirt. Are you an ex-Marine, sir?
Yes, I am.
Well, one, thank you for your service, of course. Is this a case of a lot of sort of volunteer firefighters are sort of ex-service or have had some connection to the service? Because that's a big family, and the fire service is a big family as well, isn't it?
There's never an ex-Marine, right, Ben? They're always a Marine.
This is correct. Once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine.
I apologise, because I've said the same about journalists who turn into PR people and said, you're always a journalist at the end of the day. So let's talk about the events. Let's get back to Jeremy. Tell us about some of the events that you do, because, I mean, I've got a list here. It was supplied to me. Tell us about these events, because you do a huge amount. I'm looking at this, and this is this is staggering.
Yeah, so just a few of the events that we do. We do football standby for the high school football team. We also do standby for the youth football team as of recently. On top of, we assist the rec department with various events, whether at the town park or Main Street, kind of assist them with crowd control, shutting the roads down. We have a couple events of our own for fundraising.
There's a lot of football here, youth football. So, I mean, you know, that's a great thing just to get kids, obviously, passionate about sports. But that takes a lot of time as well.
Yeah, about each game is about 2 hours, you know, and the strings, three games a day, just during the youth league, just to assist them because they need coverage. The high school football team, we're kind of just there for moral support and watch the game.
The other thing as well, looking at this, as I say, huge, great big list. Food drives, turkey dips, toy drives. Talk to us about some of that, because obviously we're in the holiday season. We're all hurting. Everyone's hurting. I mean, you know, we've all gone through the pandemic. I mean, that was huge for everybody, even bigger for you guys, and obviously having to try and tackle those situations during that time as well. Talk to us a little bit about those things, because they mean a lot to people. They really do. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke, excuse the firefighter pun sort of thing, but they really do mean a lot to people. And you guys seem to excel in that.
Yeah, so as far as the food drive, toy drive, we've been doing that for
16, 17.
16, 17 plus years, my whole time here. We've been doing them every single year on the second week of November, second week of December. Food drive benefits the St. Mary's Food Pantry. They, you know, divvy up, the collections of food and the, monies that are donated from the town folk to, individuals in need. And then the toy drive that we collect for as well. We collect toys and, monies that they distribute under the Holiday Helpers.
Youth Center.
Through the Youth Center.
What does it mean to you guys to be able to do that, to give back even more? I mean, you're already giving back to the community in the fact that you're volunteering in the first place. Let's get that clear and out of the way. But then you go and do all of this as well. What does it mean to you to do that?
It's an honor. We go out there and we put ourselves out there. They see us doing this. One, like I was saying, a lot of places don't know they're volunteer. So just being in the forefront of the public's eyes to see we're here and we provide all these services to the residents and surrounding communities. Try to publicize that as much as we can.
And also these events that we do, a lot of people volunteer in the department, and it just gets everyone closer. I mean, as a group, because we're all together. And usually when we come back from a call, we'll sit around this table, and a lot of people will talk. They just don't run home.
Yeah, I was going to say, just talk to us a little bit about that, because without getting too deep and meaningful, because, I mean, you deal with some pretty, hair-raising, scary stuff that, a lot of us hopefully will never have to see. How do you deal with that? Because that has to have an effect. Doesn't matter, I suppose, how many years you've been doing it. I'm sure it still has an effect, and to be able to sit here, people are thinking, well, a bunch of men don't need to talk about it, but the reality is you do need to talk about this stuff, don't you?
Yes, anyone ever needs help after a call, we do have EAP programs through the town also that can help out with incidents. But some of these incidents after a big fire or a big car accident or something like that, we do have debriefings.
Now they call them a hot wash. I've been involved in a few of them. 95, we had the fire over here. Back in 2001, I want to say, I think it was, we had a ATV accident up the road. One was a fatal and the other one just barely survived. Some of the guys in the firehouse, I had to call in, do a hot wash with those guys back then. 2006, there's a real bad fatal accident. We lost 4 kids. There were 4 fatalities. A lot of guys had to do the hot wash, and it really bothered some people. I mean, I just deal with it, move on. I mean, I just how I am. Everybody handles things differently.
The point as well is that even if you deal with it, you are the local fire department. The chances are you could be dealing with a neighbour who's been involved in an accident. So it becomes very, very personal.
As a matter of fact, I've had that less than a month ago. Neighbor's grandson passed away. They knew it, but I had to walk next door. And yeah, he's how to get presumption orders. Call the hospital and say, yep, this is it.
And again, this is the type of stuff that people don't realise. You know,
Exactly.
they think you put on a uniform, they think you stop being the human being, but the reality is you are human beings. You're doing this really tough job.
Basically, the way I look at it, we deal with the public when they're at their worst. That's the way I look at it. Something bad's happening to them, they call 911, we show up, we do the best we can to resolve the issue, get things squared away for them. That's how I look at it. And a lot of people don't see it like that.
The other thing I wanted to say to all of you as well is, in amongst all of this, I mean, these stories of, the tragedy and the things that you have to deal with and say the volunteering, you have to train as well. There's always the training. That never stops. I mean, how do you fit all of that in, Scott? I mean, again, we were talking about you've got full-time jobs. You're doing a 40-hour week. So how do you get that? How do you fit that in? Explain that a little bit to us about that, because training is a continuing thing.
We have certain nights we set aside for training nights, which is usually Tuesday nights. And we all, like right now, because it's cold, we come inside and we do in-house training. And like now it's officer prep, where we all sit down and we have someone come in and talk to us about different scenarios and about different ways to improve on yourself. And when it gets warmer, we go outside. We go out and pull hose, set up ladders, run the equipment, teach the younger guys how to put on their gear, take off their gear, climb under something simple which you take for granted, which they don't know how to do. And that's what we do Tuesday nights.
Ben, I want to come back to you. I mean, as you said, all of you, you've been doing this for many, many years. What are some of the things that you would say have changed over the time that you've been doing this, other than trying to get people to volunteer, because people, it doesn't seem to be ingrained in people quite the same these days, but also, sadly, people are having to do 2-3 jobs just to sort of keep their mortgage and the roof over their head. But what are some of the other things that you've seen over the years that have changed?
I think the reaction of people today is totally different than it was the 40-some-odd years ago when I first started in the department. The respect, I think, isn't there anymore that we used to have many years ago. People today, they approach a scene, you try to assist them the best you can, direct them, control them, and they tend to resent it. But you're trying to do a job, you're trying to help out, protect your fellow firefighters so they don't get hurt, the equipment doesn't get damaged, and it's difficult. But we do the best we can, and I think we are quite successful in what we do.
And Chief, I want to get back to you. I mean, other than some of the stuff that we've been talking about, as I say, the huge amount of events that you do and just being part of the community, there's always messages that the fire department, whether it's Jewett City Fire or other fire departments, you always want to get out to the public. What are some of the things that people need to understand that they can do to help themselves, maybe at their homes? Some of that sort of like good, public service announcement stuff, so that we can get that into people's heads.
Well, first of all, if they need 911, don't be afraid to call. Some people hesitant, if they should call or not. We'll go this time of year. A lot of smoke detectors or CO detectors, the batteries are getting low, and they'll stop beeping. It's always at night. It always happens at night, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, so we're going out and metering someone's house. And some people are afraid, not afraid, but don't want to call because they're not sure. Call, we come. We'll go out and, check them out for them. A lot of times it's batteries, but you never know. It could be that boiler that backed up. And, with CO and everything, you don't want to fool around.
I think Scott was saying before we started as well, Scott, you were saying about, obviously, people, burning
I think
wood
I think this year people are going to be burning wood more, and a lot of times they wait until after that first burn to find out that they need the chimney cleaned after we've come. And I think it's going to be more prevalent this year with the wood stoves.
And Deputy Chief, I think from you as well, I mean, I'm guessing, we're in that holiday season, lots of sort of holiday trees, those things are highly combustible, and people don't realise how bad they are, actually, aren't they, even the real ones?
Try not to use the multi-strip outlets. There's been a lot of issues with getting overloaded. Everybody knows starting fires. Keep your Christmas tree watered as much as possible if you got a real one.
And candles must be the other big bugbear for you guys as well, because it's that time when people are like using a lot of candles as well.
Some do. I mean, people have been lucky fairly well. We haven't really too many fires where started by a candle.
We had a fire a couple weeks ago. It was a laptop on a counter. Started on fire. They left it on, and It just started the island on fire. So you just don't know.
As we head towards the end of 2022, anything that's really hit you this year?
It's just an everyday occurrence for us to respond and do the best we can and help the people, and that's about it, I guess.
So this year for us, Scott Walker, our lieutenant, which is across from me, has cancer, stage 4 cancer. And so he's been battling that, and we're putting on a benefit, matter of fact, for him. So the departments really come together as a group, and we really strive. And other departments and a lot of people in the town have really donated a lot of stuff for this benefit coming up, which is a great outpouring from the town. Other departments in the area, Griswold, Baltic, Lisbon, Taffville, Mohegan Tribe, just right down the list. People they're all giving out and helping us wherever we need for this benefit coming up, which is great because, one firefighter, we're all firefighters. We're all brothers and sisters in this group.
It's one big family.
Yep. So
we're going to speak to you last then, Scott, because you'll have the final word on this. Jeremy, any final thoughts, as we head towards the end of, obviously, 2022?
Just hopefully we all have a safe year to come.
I'm just glad that we have I call them kids, the young adults that we got this year. 5 of them are in class, a couple more getting ready to move up. It's great to have them. I'm grateful for that.
And Scott, we're going to give you the final word on this. Obviously, we wish you success with your battle.
Thank you. If you have a problem, go see a doctor. I didn't know. I've had it for 4 months. I just had it started out as a raspy voice. And then it started out as a lump on my neck, and it got harder to shave. So I went and saw a doctor. And they finally determined that it was cancer. It's reduced in size by 50%. The last time I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, I couldn't see it. The first time I saw it, it looked like a black golf ball in my throat. This time, there's absolutely nothing. And the only reason I have the trach in my throat is because my throat had closed up. And it has opened back up, so hopefully they take that out this next time I go.
Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed as well, and again, still doing the job, still volunteering, still here. I mean, that says and speaks absolute volumes. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you again for inviting us to the fire department, for telling us some of your stories, for letting us in on your lives, as it were, and hopefully we will walk away, all of us, understanding the work of our fire departments across the nation a lot better. But to all of you, have a very happy New Year. Scott, in particular, we wish you the best of health, and thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm not done in this world yet, so...
And indeed, Scott isn't done yet. We're happy to report he's doing well, still on duty with the department, and the recent fundraiser for him by the department raised over $6,800 that will go towards Scott's medical bills and continuing treatment. And on a separate note, the fire department also had a recent boot and toy drive and raised over $2,500 in donations, as well as many toys that will be given to those in the local community to help make their Christmas a little easier this year. And don't forget, if you're interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter, then contact your local fire department or fire company in your town or city for details.
People won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Got deer problems? Let us help. With Green Valley Tree LLC's Deer Preventive Spray, guaranteed to keep deer away from your precious plants, bushes, and trees for up to 6 months. With cold weather on its way, deer will be looking for sources of food. Don't let your front and backyards become their pantry. Call Green Valley Tree today at 860-234-4041 or visit us at greenvalleytreeworks.com.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week. Local leaders in southeastern Connecticut heard recently from the Department of Energy about its plans to seek consent-based siting from towns and cities across the nation to store spent nuclear fuel from power stations while a permanent national storage location is found. The roundtable discussion, headed by Connecticut Congressman Joe Courtney, was held in the town of Waterford, home to the only nuclear power station in the state. Courtney said it's time to correct the actions of past administrations, where spent nuclear fuel should have gone to a national repository for long-term storage, but has ended up being stockpiled locally.
You know, when you talk about Waterford, in terms of its coastal proximity, you talk about Haddam Neck with a high water table. Those are just not appropriate sites they were appropriate for water cooling, the facilities, but not for permanent storage.
Rob Brawl is the first selectman of Waterford and said although storage of the spent nuclear fuel at Millstone Nuclear Power Station in the town isn't ideal, it is safe there.
We grew up here in this town. We saw it built, and we said, okay, you can do it. And the arrangement was there was not going to be interim storage needed. The waste would be taken away. That was naive at the time, but now we're at a point where we can do a lot more for the environment. This could be a win-win if interim storage is really done right.
The other storage facility holding spent nuclear fuel in the region is at Haddam Neck at the former Connecticut Yankee nuclear power plant that was closed back in 1996. Back in 2002, Yucca Mountain in Nevada was approved to be the nation's nuclear waste repository, but years of opposition and funding issues has stalled that project. In 2021, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said that Yucca Mountain would no longer be part of President Biden's plans for nuclear waste disposal, and a timeline to find a national repository remains open-ended. Labour advocates are asking Congress to better fund the National Labour Relations Board in its upcoming budget. Edwin J. Vieira from the Connecticut News Service has more.
The NLRB budget has declined 25% since 2014. However, as support for unions has risen, the agency needs more funding to handle these cases. According to the NLRB, more than 2,500 union petitions have been filed between September 2021 and October 2022. It's the most the agency has seen since 2016. Staffing has declined at the agency as well. Ed Hawthorne with the Connecticut AFL-CIO describes how the funding issue and other problems are impacting the NLRB.
This leaves workers at a disadvantage, and it discourages concerted speech, and it harms workers trying to gain a voice in the workplace by forming a union. So it would make a huge difference in enforcing the laws that are already on the books.
He adds that without people to adjudicate incoming claims and run elections, workers remain at a distinct disadvantage. Hawthorne wants to see this funding approved by the lame duck Congress, but he feels it's not a good bet. He hopes this funding will come through to better aid workers' rights and union efforts. I'm Edwin J. Vieira.
Governor Lamont recently announced that the Connecticut Department of Housing is releasing $13.4 million in grants to 7 municipalities for infrastructure upgrades that will modernize and rehabilitate housing for low and moderate income individuals. Awarded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Community Development Block Grant Small Cities program, eligible projects are required to be in a municipality with a population of fewer than 50,000 residents. These grants would advance the preservation and development of affordable housing, modernize a domestic violence shelter, enhance services to the most vulnerable residents in their communities, and also help to create and retain jobs. In eastern Connecticut, McCluckage Manor in Griswold has been awarded $2 million that will be used for renovations at the property as well as upgrades. And in Wyndham, Terry Court has also received $2 million. Those funds will be used to complete priority capital needs at the property. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms, on demand, and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow, and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.